And windy weather, firefighters play a critical role when wildfires break out. And recruiting's been tough the last few years, especially during the pandemic.
Our Bella Caracta reports on how that worrisome trend is looking now. She joins us live in the studio tonight. Bella?
John, Aaron, the early months of this year have been busy for some metro fire departments. Papillion Fire Department is actively recruiting. Omaha Fire Department just wrapped up their process. And I also spoke with Council Bluffs, which recruited last year and said one part of their department could still use a boost.
Papillion Fire is in its final push for applicants.
Overall, the last few years, numbers have been down in applicants. So that's why we're doing a big social media push. As you've seen, we've never done anything like this before.
About every 2 years, metro fire departments create their list. It takes months.
It is a long-term process.
Papillion Fire Department is looking to fill at least 6 positions in the next 2 years. But the list they keep to fill positions as people leave throughout the year is longer. The department itself is about 60 people. Papillion recruitment follows Omaha Fire, which recently welcomed its latest class of 32 new firefighters. They come from a pool of over 800 applicants. That's about 200 more than the last cycle.
I'm really happy to see that those numbers have gone up from what they used to be. I was really thinking there might be a downward trend, but we did a lot of really good open houses and recruitment forums and things like that.
Across the river, recruitment numbers have been consistent. Council Bluffs Fire Department made its list last year and had about 150 applicants. 2 years before that, it had about 190. The assistant fire chief says their job description changes over time.
Our call volumes keep going up and we're spread over many different disciplines, and that just doesn't appeal to everybody.
Firefighter staffing may not be top of mind for Council Bluffs, but something else is.
Where we've seen the crunch is with firefighter paramedics. We would love to have more firefighter paramedics test for the fire department.
These fire officials have been in the game for decades. They tell me when they were testing to be firefighters themselves, they were competing against thousands of applicants. Now, even though those numbers are down from then, they say the latest trend of increased interest makes them optimistic. On your side, in the studio, Bella Caracta, 6 News.
Hey.